Hello there and a very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast Rundown with me Zulfick Farzan, where we bring you the latest stories happening in Sri Lanka and across the world and dive into some of the key details of the stories that we at Newsfirst are following. Now before we head into the main stories, we'll have a look at an item that we received just right now. A 43-year-old man, a store owner, was shot dead inside a grocery shop located down Saranankaramauta in Kohuala. Now according to police, the man was shot dead by two unidentified gunmen who had entered the premises last night. Now this is a developing story. Now please do follow us on our social media handles and our website for more details on this story as we receive them. Now the presidential election is on the 21st of September. That's on Saturday. Now with effect from midnight yesterday, the silent period for the presidential election came into effect, which means no propaganda activity can take place with regard to the presidential election with respect to the presidential candidates. Now the Election Commission has issued a notification detailing the operational time limits for authorized election officers maintained by presidential candidates during the upcoming election period. Now according to this notification, the operation of notified branch election officers at the constituency level will cease at midnight today. Election officers established at the level of each polling area will commence operations tomorrow and can be maintained until September 22nd. Now similarly, the period for operating constituency level election officers will also conclude at midnight on September 22nd. Additionally, from midnight on September 22nd, the presidential candidates or their authorized representatives will no longer be permitted to use their residences as election officers. Now the Election Commission has emphasized that any election officers operating beyond these deadlines will be immediately dismantled in accordance with the election laws. Now to enforce the dismantlation of these election officers that exceed the approved time limit, Sri Lanka Police as well as investigation officers from the Election Commission have been deployed. If you are an eligible voter, one of the key instruments that you need to be in possession is your polling card. Now the Election Commission has said that the polling cards will be given to every single eligible voter. The Postal Department has said that it has successfully completed the door-to-door distribution of the official polling cards for the upcoming 2024 presidential election. Deputy Postmaster General Rajitha Ranasinghe announced that any voters who have not yet received their official polling cards can collect them from their local post office starting today, that is the 19th of September. Voters are required to verify their identity to obtain their polling cards, which will be available for collection from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Now additionally, the Election Commission has clarified that voters can still participate in the election process even if they do not have the polling card by providing a valid identification card. That could be your NIC or even your driving license, but it has to be valid. Now election duties for the officials engaged in the election process is vital to ensure the smooth operation of an election. The Department of Railways has announced the operation of several special trains between Colombo Fort and Kankasanture to facilitate presidential election duties. Now these special trains are designated for government officials and security personnel involved in the election process. Now according to the Department of Railways, a train will depart from Colombo Fort to Kankasanture at 9 a.m. today and tomorrow. Additionally, two special trains will run from Kankasanture to Colombo Fort tomorrow and on September 22nd. Now on election day, that's Saturday the 21st of September, the regular Saturday train schedule will be in operation. Sri Lanka Railways has also indicated that long distance trains will operate as usual on Sunday, September 22nd. However, there will be a reduction in the number of short distance trains that will be in operation on Sunday. Now, at the same time, Sri Lanka's Human Rights Commission has announced the launch of a special program and a mobile service program to monitor the violation of human rights in Sri Lanka during the election period and until the conclusion of the presidential election. Now, the Commissioner General of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Attorney at Law Nimal Punchihera, stated that this initiative will be regulated by regional human rights officers, ensuring comprehensive oversight throughout the entire election process. Now, at the same time, election monitors from various regions and various international bodies are also in Sri Lanka to monitor the election process. Now, moving on to some business news. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka last night released the Sri Lanka Purchasing Managers Index for August 2024. Now, according to this document, the PMI for manufacturing recorded an index value of 55.5 in August 2024. Now, this indicates an expansion in manufacturing activities, yet at a slower rate compared to the previous month. Now, all the subsidies except for employment remained above the neutral threshold in August, according to the central bank. Now, the expansion in new orders and production was mainly driven by the manufacturer of food and beverages sector, according to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Now, further, stock of purchases expanded during the month in line with the new orders and production. Now, in some interesting news from the Sea of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka Navy has rendered assistance to bring ashore an injured fisherman who was aboard a local multi-day fishing trawler on the high seas south of Sri Lanka. Now, initially, the fisherman was retrieved by a merchant vessel in the sea area on being coordinated by the MRCC in Colombo. Now, let's dive into the details. Now, the Sri Lanka Navy says that a local multi-day fishing trawler called Beola 2 was reported to have left the Vennapur Fisheries Harbour with 7 fishermen on the 17th of July on a fishing voyage. Now, the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources alerted the MRCC in Colombo, established in the Navy headquarters, that a crew on board the fishing trawler was injured, bitten by a fish, and requested Navy's assistance to transfer him ashore for treatment. Now, in the meantime, a nearby merchant vessel named MT Kiel Express was directed to the trawler's location to provide assistance through the coordination of the MRCC in Colombo. Now, Sri Lanka Navy said, following the assistance rendered by the MRCC in Colombo, the merchant vessel managed to retrieve the fisherman and he was brought to the Colombo Offshore Patrol limit by last morning while administering first aid. Now, following this, the Sri Lanka Navy deployed a fast attack craft, or an FAC, attached to the Western Naval Command to the Colombo Offshore Patrol limit, where they boarded the injured fisherman and brought him ashore. Now, according to the Sri Lanka Navy, subsequently he was rushed to the National Hospital in Colombo for further treatment. The Sri Lanka Navy said, in coordination with the MRCC in Colombo, it continues to exemplify its dedication and unwavering commitment to safeguarding lives within Sri Lanka's search and rescue jurisdiction, serving as a beacon of hope and security for seafarers and the fishing community. Now, sticking with the military, Major General W.A.D.W. Nanayakara, the new Chief of Staff of the Sri Lanka Army of the Sri Lanka Singha Regiment, assumed duties as the 65th Chief of Staff of the Sri Lanka Army at the Army headquarters yesterday. Now, the newly appointed Chief of Staff signed an official document symbolizing the acceptance of his new role amidst the chanting of Setpirit by the Mahasangha at the premises. Now, following this, the Chief of Staff also interacted with the monks and offered various pirikara and gilanpasa. Now, prior to his appointment, the Chief of Staff served as the Commandant of the Sri Lanka Volunteer Force. Now, in a developing story that we here at Newsfirst are following, now that's developing in the Middle East, just a day ago we reported that more than 2,800 people were injured in a coordinated attack where pagers used by people in Lebanon in the Hezbollah-controlled region exploded simultaneously. Now, among them were children, and 9 people were reported dead, including 1 small child. Now, handheld radios used by armed group Hezbollah detonated on Wednesday across Lebanon's south in the country's deadliest day since cross-border fighting erupted between the militants and Israel nearly a year ago, stoking tensions after similar explosions of the group's pages the day before. Now, Lebanon's health minister said 20 people were killed and more than 450 were injured on Wednesday in Beirut suburbs and the Bekaa Valley, while the death toll from Tuesday's explosions rose to 12, including 2 children, with now more than 3,000 injured. Israeli officials have not commented on the blast, but security sources said Israel's spy agency, Mossad, was responsible. One Hezbollah official said the episode was the biggest security breach in the group's history. The operations, which appeared to throw Hezbollah into disarray, played out alongside Israel's 11-month-old war in Gaza and heightened fears of an escalation of its Lebanese border and the risk of a full-blown war. Now, Jordan's foreign minister Ayman Safadi has accused Israel of pushing the Middle East into the brink of a regional war by orchestrating a dangerous escalation on many fronts. Now let's shift gears from the international arena to the sporting arena, where Sri Lanka are taking on New Zealand. Now, Kamindu Mendis scored a courageous century to help Sri Lanka reach 302 runs for the loss of 7 wickets on the first day of the first test against New Zealand in Galle. Now, Sri Lanka earlier slumped to 106 for 4 just after lunch, but Kamindu provided a confident and calm performance, stitching a 103-run stand with Kusal Mendis. Now, New Zealand's fast bowler William Rourke had earlier rattled Sri Lanka's top order, taking 2 wickets as the host reached 88 at lunch yesterday. Now, today is going to be another interesting day of play in Galle as Sri Lanka continue their innings against New Zealand. Well, that's a wrap of this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfick Farzan. But do keep yourself updated by following our website www.newsfirst.lk and also our social media handles on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube. Until I meet you again tomorrow morning, same time and same place. Take care and God bless.